All right, let's just jump right in because what we're talking about today is, well, it's a discovery that's shaking the very foundations of how we think the universe grew up. Astronomers have found a cosmic giant that just flat out shouldn't exist, where, and more importantly, when they found it.
I mean, think about it this way. What if you walked into a nursery, full of newborns, and sitting in one of the cribs is a fully grown adult? It makes no sense, right? Well, that's the scale of the puzzle we're facing. It's a discovery that's making us ask a really big question. Is our entire understanding of the cosmic timeline just wrong?
Okay, so let's set the stage for this cosmic whodunit. We're going to peer way, way back in time. I'm talking about the dawn of the universe, when everything was just getting started. And right there, in the cosmic cradle, we found something that just completely breaks all the rules.
And when I say way back, I mean it. To put this in perspective for you, our universe is about 13.8 billion years old. This thing, we found it just 700 million years after the Big Bang. That's when the universe was barely 5% of its current age. The cosmic dark ages were just ending, and the very first galaxies were starting to switch on their lights. It's that early.
And boom! Right there in that brand new fledgling cosmos, they found it. A supermassive black hole. And look, this isn't just a case of, that's weird. This is, according to everything we thought we knew, this should be flat out impossible.
So here's where it gets really strange. You've got this incredible mismatch. On one side, you have this monster black hole, looking mature and fully formed. But then you look at its home galaxy, and it's shockingly primitive. Scientists call it chemically pristine, which is a fancy way of saying it's super clean. It hasn't had generations of stars living and dying to create the heavy elements that are supposed to be the food for a growing black hole. The analogy is perfect. It's like finding a gleaming skyscraper in a tiny village that hasn't even figured out how to make bricks yet. How is that possible?
Now, to really get why this is blowing everyone's minds, we kind of have to look at the official rulebook. The standard story that's been in all the textbooks for years about how these cosmic monsters are supposed to grow.
So the textbook plan is a slow burn. It's methodical. First, a massive star dies, collapses, and forms a tiny little seed black hole. That's step one. Then, for literally eons, this little seed just kind of sips on the gas and dust around it. The real growth spurts, those are supposed to come from these huge, chaotic galactic mergers where two galaxies smash together and their black holes merge. The bottom line is, it's a recipe that needs a ton of time, billions and billions of years.
So really, it all boils down to two crucial ingredients for the standard recipe. One, you need a long timeline. We're talking billions of years. And two, you need a messy, metal-rich kitchen, a galaxy that's full of junk from generations of stars. That's the fuel. So time and fuel. Got it? Remember those two.
Okay, and this is where our mystery object just strolls in and flips the whole table over. Let's look at the evidence piece by piece and see just how badly it breaks the rules we just talked about.
All right, let's take them one by one. First, the timeline. It's just way too short. At only 700 million years after the Big Bang, there's no way, mathematically no way for that slow, steady growth plan to make a black hole this big. Second, the environment. It's totally wrong. Remember that messy, metal-rich kitchen it needs? Well, this galaxy is spotless. It's too clean. It doesn't have the fuel. So you have this giant black hole, the final result, but you don't have the time or the ingredients the recipe calls for. The standard model, it just completely falls apart here.
So, if the old playbook is out the window, what's next? Well, this is the fun part. Astronomers are basically cosmic detectives right now, and they've lined up a few main suspects, a few new theories that might just explain this whole mess.
All right, let's go through the suspect list. Theory number one is called direct collapse. The idea here is that you just skip the whole starseed phase. Instead, a truly massive cloud of gas in the early universe just collapses, poof, directly into a big black hole. It gets a massive head start. Suspect number two is even wilder. Primordial origins. This one says these black holes didn't come from stars at all. They were actually formed in the chaos of the first few moments after the Big Bang itself. And finally, suspect number three, extreme accretion. This theory says, okay, maybe it started as a normal seed, but it just ate at an absolutely insane, unbelievable speed. The only problem? A feeding frenzy that big should have left a huge mess, and we just don't see it. The crime scene is clean.
But here's the thing. This isn't just about solving the case of one weird object. This discovery is a clue, and it's pointing to something much, much bigger.
We might have to rewrite our whole understanding of how the early universe even worked.
And that's because this isn't a one-off. It's not an isolated case. With powerful new telescopes, we're finding more of these too big, too early black holes. A pattern is definitely emerging. What we thought was just a weird exception is starting to look like a whole new, unexplained rule. It tells us there's a serious systemic gap in our models. There's this quote from the research that just perfectly captures the feeling in the astronomy world right now. It says, "The question is no longer whether models need refinement, but how fundamental that rethink must be." Think about that. The debate isn't if the theory is broken anymore. The debate now is how badly is it broken? Are we talking about just a little patch? Or do we have to rip out the entire first chapter of the story of the universe and start writing it from scratch?
And so that's where we are, left with this huge, kind of thrilling question. It's discoveries like this that remind us that the universe is always going to be stranger and more wonderful than we can possibly imagine. Every time we think we found an answer, it just opens up a dozen new, even bigger questions. It really makes you wonder, are we actually reading the first chapter of cosmic history, or do we just stumble upon one single surprising page from a book that's way bigger and way more epic than we ever knew?